Welcome to Containerized Conversations, where we try to containerize our conversation. I'm Jessica Caffarelli.
And I'm Josh Warhurst. Thanks for tuning in as we dive into some of our favorite topics, one containerized thought at a time.
All right, Josh, kicking off this episode of 7 Habits of Highly Effective People book club. We are amazingly on the 6th habit.
Whoa, 6 out of 7.
Yeah, 6 out of 7. We're getting close to the end. For our audience members at home, this is starting on habit number 6 in the updated book, starting on 308. So spoilers ahead. If you haven't read it yet, go read it. If you just want to cut to the chase, then thank you for joining us. And for those who did read it, welcome back.
So habit 6 is about synergy.
Synergy.
When you first, presented this series to me and you said, hey, let's go over the different habits. I remember synergy was the habit that I got wrong. I also just couldn't figure it out.
Yeah.
It was too vague and the word had been too corporatized.
Yeah.
To get me, really over the finish line. But I've read the chapter now, and I feel like
I'm still confused.
I think I can give an answer, right?
Well, so I feel like it's not like, this is my take. I don't think this is really a habit, right? Like, I feel like this habit is like the outcome of when you inhabit most of the previous habits, and then you meet someone else who also inhabits most of the previous habits, and you get together, and because you guys have both those habits, you do something amazing, right? Like, arguably, I feel like this is not really a habit. It's really more of like an outcome of those habits, and a reason why you should try to almost like get people to follow some of the habits. Right.
Yeah. I think you're right that, I can disagree with a little bit.
Please do.
I understand why this is. Yeah, I think you're right that synergy is about, it's the fruit of good work with others, right? Yeah, I think the habit is about being open to it.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
The idea of being like, it's a little bit different from win-win, which is like, you want the other person to win just as much as you're winning, right?
Yeah.
You want the other person to succeed just as much as you're succeeding.
Yeah.
And then it's a little bit different from the other interpersonal habit, which is listen to others before you speak your idea.
Yeah.
This is like, be open to the possibilities of your idea not being the best idea.
Yeah.
To that extent, I think it is kind of a habit.
No, and I think that's a really good point. It's almost like this habit should actually be called interdependence, right? It's the transition of you becoming independent to interdependence, and synergy is that. Where all the other ones aren't really you becoming interdependent in a way with other people. It's like opening you up to being interdependent, and where this one is the final leap. So I can get that.
So I think the base idea here is, if I understand this right, it's that each person, when you get together, right?
Yeah.
Two people with their differences will create a better outcome together than individuals thinking about something, right?
Yeah.
So if you have two people and they say, hey, here's my idea about how this thing should succeed. The other person has their idea about how it should succeed. And if you kind of discuss that and hash it out from a place of wanting the other person to win and listening to the other person, really, then you create something that's, greater than the sum of its parts.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. And I also think that like one of the quotes I did kind of highlight is on 321, where he says he thinks that the key to interpersonal synergy is intrapersonal synergy. And being able to inhabit all of those habits internally yourself. And you yourself have to have synergy within yourself before you can create external synergy. And so maybe that's it, right? Is that this habit is still kind of an internal thing. You have to have synergy within yourself before you can actually have synergy with someone else. And maybe that is the habit encapsulated.
Yeah, I don't think you said something a little bit earlier that I don't think it was a requirement, although it certainly helps, which is if you meet somebody that inhabits all the other habits,
Yeah.
that certainly makes synergy easier,
Yeah. Yeah.
right? When you can go and, if you're listening as actively as they're listening to you,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
um, if you're starting from the place where you think that like your idea isn't necessarily the best idea,
Mhm.
that we really do have to kind of come to some middle ground.
Yeah.
Um, and the middle ground, he explains, is like not some compromise,
Yeah.
right? It's not some thing that's halfway between two good ideas. It's he talks
Yeah.
about like the Buddhist middle
Yeah.
ground, which is
Yeah.
almost like the midpoint of a triangle,
Yeah.
right? You're coming up in the middle
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
something that's better than what existed before.
Yeah. Yeah, and he says something like the sum of the parts is greater than the individual parts or something like that, right? And that's it
Yeah.
right there. And honestly, in my working career, I've had the pleasure of having synergy a lot of times,
Mm.
entering new teams. And I have to tell you, the first time I ever had synergy, it was so addicting. And from that point on, I was like, now I know, because I read the book, but I never had synergy before.
Mm.
And I never really understood this habit. And now that I have experience go back and reading it, I'm like, man, it's just like, because like there was this one company I joined, and the company was a startup, and at startups, good startups, a lot of people are independent, and so they all kind of work on their own little silos and do their own things, and they're really good at it. And you know I've had the pleasure of joining really great startups that were successful. And because of it, well, and it's because they were independent and they were able to get the job done by themselves. But, synergy says that if you can get those people, at least some of those people working together, it becomes amazing. And I joined this one startup, and there was this I joined as a DevOps engineer, and DevOps at this company meant like infrastructure engineer,
Hmm.
slash deployment engineer, like CI/CD pipelines. And I remember there was this. I joined the company, and this developer came to me. He's like, "Our deployment pipelines suck, man. They're terrible. Like, I just wish that they were better." And I was like, "Yeah, like that's why they hired me. But I don't actually know the problem. So like, maybe we can work together." And he's like, that would be amazing." And so we ended up working together on doing these pipelines. Not only did we build out like CI/CD pipelines within like a couple weeks, but we also built a Slack bot that could do the deployments for us. And we told it like what versions to deploy. And like he was the developer, and I didn't know a lot of development code at this time because it was still early on in my career. And so my experience in like automation and bash script automation and Python script automation, but he was like a Node.js developer, and that's what you needed to know at the time to create those Slack bots. And so because we were able to work together with his Node.js knowledge and my CI/CD pipeline and release knowledge, we were able to come together to build something that was absolutely amazing. And
Mm.
we made the pipelines easy to use. Everybody was so excited, like everybody wanted to start using the bot. And so like we were held up, and everyone knew our names at this company now. It was absolutely amazing. It was just such an addicting moment. And from that point on, I was like, I need to find, and we all, and at the time I didn't, I forgot about this book, honestly, because like, yeah, I was jumping around. and me and him, we always went out for drinks afterwards too. And the one thing he was actually he was from Paris, so he is French,
Mm.
and so he told me that, listen, man, I'm so glad you joined this company because you are so much like me. And I'm like, dude, I totally agree. Like, we are like very similar people. And I think what we were really saying to each other is like, we both inhabit some of these habits that like we're looking for other people to inhabit that we haven't found. And so we
Mm.
happen to come across each other, and we did this something amazing together because of that. And that was when I started realizing, like, when I build a team and I interview people, I'm going to interview on these habits,
Mm.
because that's how you build a synergy team. Don't focus on tech, don't focus on experience, focus on these habits, because if you find those people, you can build the synergy, and the training part, the tech part, that'll come so second nature.
Well, it's funny. There's a statement on line 320, on page 320. Too much code today. There's a
Yeah.
statement on page 320 that sameness is not oneness, right?
Mhm.
And I think the idea is that synergy can't come from two people that are the same. Now,
Yeah.
the thing is, there is a difference between like two people who are like actually the same, like
Yeah.
two
Yeah.
Jesse Caffarellis,
Yeah. Yeah. Two
versus
automation release engineers,
yeah,
right?
I
Yeah.
think if you had the situation where you worked with that guy making the pipeline, right?
Yeah.
The reason that it worked out so well was like two of him could not have made that great pipeline. Two
Yeah.
of you could not have made that great
Yeah.
pipeline. But
Yeah.
collectively, you brought different things to the table, right? Those differences were what made that combination work.
Yeah.
But the sameness was in the sort of gung ho spirit, that sort of
Yeah.
openness,
Yeah.
the saying, "Hey, I want this to be the best it can be,"
Yeah.
and agreeing and like putting your egos to the side. I think that level is good. I would say that one of the things you talk about in interviews where people will, you might try to look for these habits in people. I think that's fair. I tend to look at like what teams are missing and
Yeah.
try to find people that complement that. What's hard
Mhm.
is like the skills that are missing in a lot of teams are things
Yeah.
that are really hard to interview for.
Yeah.
Because if the team's missing it, then how do you know what it really looks like?
Yeah. Well, and it's
um,
hard to interview on skills because people could also lie about it too, right?
and they can learn it, right?
Yeah.
Like if you
Yeah,
say, "Hey, this
exactly.
person, they don't have any, Rust experience, and our whole
Yeah.
company is a Rust shop."
Yeah.
um, can people learn it? I
Yeah.
mean, I think they can. I think people with the right attitude can. I think, especially if you're a company where you say, "Hey, we're going to teach people this. We're going to bring everybody up to speed.
Yeah.
We just need to find somebody that's going to learn and is into it." So,
Yeah.
but I don't know. I think the big point of this chapter is not just to look for people that are the same. It is really that valuing the differences, right?
Yeah, yeah, I don't know how to word it, but it's like you said, it's not necessarily like the same in skill set or knowledge, but it is important for them to inhabit the principles and the habits that are discussed in this book.
Yeah.
And there's a those there you can have the same type of principle centered people, but different skill set and paradigm type people,
I'm going to
right?
push back a little bit though, because I think, there's a statement on page 323. The quote is, "When we're left to our own experiences, we constantly suffer from a shortage of data," right?
Yeah. Yeah, yeah.
And I think that the habits are great. I agree with you. You've pulled
Yeah.
me into your camp. I'm a
Yeah,
big
yeah.
fan of this,
Yeah.
but they're not like, the word of the supreme overlord,
Yeah, yeah.
I think
Yeah.
that there is possibility that there is some skill out there that has never been achieved by humanity, and I'm actually really looking for that,
Yeah, yeah.
right?
Yeah,
Barring
but
that, yeah, the 7
they
habits,
could
people
still
that inhabit this is good, but
I think there's a difference between skill and habits though, right? Like, don't get me wrong, I disagreed with this coworker all the time. And then one of my other the other coworkers I love working with all the time, I have amazing synergy with. But do we fight? Of course we do. We argue, and honestly, I'm actually glad you brought up 323, valuing the differences. Honestly, I actually think our relationship is so strong because we differ. And that's Anthony. We interviewed him on one of
Yeah.
our previous episodes.
I love Anthony.
And
Anthony's great.
you know, but I think that's the difference is we have the habit of valuing each other's differences. And so when we do have a difference in paradigm and viewpoint, we definitely struggle with it, but we try to figure out how the other person is seeing it to understand their side, to see like, why is it I'm missing his side? Like, am I wrong? Is he wrong? Who's actually wrong here? Are we both right? And do we need to come to a higher level of understanding to come to a better ending, solution? And that's the value of the difference. And I was actually going to bring that up, so I'm glad you did too. I think that's a really important with synergy.
With teamwork, right? I think teamwork is in the best case scenario a synergy situation,
Yeah.
right? You get a team lead in a lot of cases who might
Yeah.
have an idea or might have to like bring down an idea.
Yeah.
But how that team works together to solve it,
Yeah.
right? It's usually bringing people's different strengths together
Yeah.
and pooling them and
Yeah.
not just saying, "Hey, everybody, we have this guy. He's the best on the team. Everybody just do what he's doing all the
Yeah.
time," right? Like,
Yeah.
no,
Yeah.
because nobody's perfect. And yeah, I think that there's a lot to a good company of trying to figure out. You didn't read
Yeah.
the uh you,
the extra child editions.
you didn't
What's
yeah,
his
you didn't
what's
read
his
the bonus, the Sean Covey
what's his
stuff.
name? Yeah, Sean.
Sean.
The yeah. I
Um,
mean, he does have a lot of really great insight.
he does. He mentioned how the founders of Google, when they
Yeah.
first met, they really didn't like each other, but they actually had
Oh,
a
okay.
situation similar to you and Anthony,
Yeah.
where
Where they valued the difference. And
they constantly like fought, but that was what made it work out.
it's really interesting too, because both those people have to have win-win in their minds.
Hmm.
That's the only way it works. And it's 100% true, because could you imagine if one or both had like a win-lose mentality? It just wouldn't work. You wouldn't, like, even if one person did, I could maybe you could get synergy, right? But I don't know. I feel like both people truly need to have win-win in their mind to get it.
Yeah, yeah, and it's hard because that can also you can have a day where it's win-win, right? I think this is part about it being a habit, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
You need to really get in the habit
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
of thinking like this,
Well,
of
you're
looking for these ways that you can complement each other and do better and whatnot.
you're ruining the ending, because that's what Habit 7 is really. So
The
sneak peek
habit of
into
all
next week.
habits.
Yeah. Yeah.
One of the other stories that I had, which was not related to tech or anything like that, but when I was working in a previous life in Japan, right, as
Hmm.
an assistant language teacher,
Yeah.
um, basically the program had English teachers in Japan, and they would have like a foreigner who comes in,
Mm.
and the relationships between, if you will, like the English teachers, the Japanese English teachers, and the foreigners
Yeah. Yeah.
was in a lot of
And
ways.
you're the foreigner in this situation,
I'm the
right?
foreigner in this
Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
situation.
Yeah. Yeah.
Was you talk to a lot of other people, and there was a big range of teachers who felt threatened by the foreigner
Yeah.
because the foreigner was like exposing their lack of
Yeah.
English.
Yeah.
Um, Other people who would just kind of defer to the foreigner, and that often was worse because like the English teacher actually knows what the kids
Yeah.
need to succeed and the
Yeah.
standards that the tests are going to judge by and all this stuff. And
Yeah.
you did find like the really good combos of the teachers and the the foreigners that actually
Yeah.
worked well together was like, oh, hey,
Yeah.
let's have this like complementary thing where
Yeah.
I'm going to kind of give the lesson as I know it needs to be taught, but
Yeah.
I'm also going to give a lot of leeway so that the foreigner has their experiences and their things that they can bring in.
Yeah.
Um, and
Man, that
it's
must
like,
be so tough to cultivate like a synergist, like a synergize relationship in that
yeah, I mean, a
situation.
lot of people failed, right?
Yeah.
A lot of
That's
people really struggled with that.
yeah. That's really cool. That's a good story.
I mean, it was a fun experience,
Yeah.
and really just seeing
Did
everybody
you
else.
so did that happen? Did you get a synergy going between you and
I
the English
had
teacher?
I had a good relationship with one. I had a
Yeah.
iffy relationship with another one who was just
Yeah.
very defensive. It was like his first year on the job.
Yeah.
And so he had a very uh the
I mean,
first
it
guy
must
had a
be
little bit more
so
experience.
tough. I can't imagine the people in their shoes though. It must be so tough to like have to deal with this foreigner coming over and like coming into your classroom. Like who do they think they are? They don't even live here. They don't know, you know, the our culture and yeah.
I mean, it's part of the job on the one hand.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's not like unexpected,
No,
right?
yeah. Yeah, yeah. Yeah.
Um But you did get a lot of foreigners who are like, "I've been teaching for 15 years and they want me to be a tape recorder," right? They want me to just read from the book and that's
Yeah.
it, right? Like, that's not
Yeah.
my skill set. You did get that contention too,
Yeah.
um,
I almost
of
feel like they should force everyone to read the 7 habits
oh
that
my
enter
god.
that program, right? But like to that point, the classrooms would do so much better if there was synergy. And the
Yes.
only way you can have synergy is if both teachers have those habits. So,
Yeah, and if they're looking at right, like, I think you're totally right. There was a lot of English teachers who are like, "There's nothing to gain by having this foreigner in the classroom," and there was a
yeah.
lot of foreigners who are like, "This English teacher knows nothing, and
Yeah.
they're not teaching the kids in a way I know best," right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
really listening to them and kind of coming to a game plan is was the goal, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I would say it was probably I'm estimating here, but probably only succeeded like a quarter of the time, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
yeah,
I mean,
maybe it would be a good idea. Part of the
yeah.
training.
I mean, that's what I say about my job all the time too. That I feel like because like but now you're starting to understand why and I know I'm annoying. I push this book all the time for anybody who's listening that's worked with me before. They're probably they're probably not even listening to this series. I talk about it so much, but
Like Jesse and his 7 habits.
this habit explains why, right? Is because synergy is just so exciting to have, but the only way you could do it is if people are doing those habits, and the best way to learn them is by reading this book. So, you
Yeah,
know,
I think there's other processes. There's a line on 312, which is that a lot of companies will defend themselves and cut them off from synergy.
yeah,
They don't want those situations because sometimes those synergistic situations, like in order to create them, it kind of comes from a place of chaos,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
And they want to like make sure that chaos is nipped in the bud
yeah,
instead of realizing like that's the factor that's going to change things. I think a
yeah,
lot of startups are really good at it, right? They're good at
yeah,
saying, you know what? Sure, if you have a better idea than what we're doing, let's go
yeah,
with it. Let's try it,
yeah,
right? Let's see
yeah,
it work or not.
yeah, yeah,
But you have bigger companies who will say, you know what? This is what we need this quarter. Marketing says we have to do this.
yeah,
So let's go and try to get this exact thing done. And it just becomes this like hard road process
yeah,
where you're like,
yeah.
there's not even the
Well,
opportunity
yeah,
to
well,
have synergy.
and that's the problem. It gets back to efficiency. And at a lot of these companies, they're looking for what's the most efficient way to push out these features or, what have you. And to do this synergy, it takes time and effort. and it's effective, but it's definitely not efficient. It's going to slow the team down at
Mm.
first, and companies don't want that, right? At least some. And I think that's the problem. To your point, they don't never get to this habit of synergy because they don't give their teams the ability to 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 get together, have a beer, yell at each other, and then start really valuing the differences in what they're saying, right?
And I think you have acquisitions and mergers too, to get on a different but related topic,
Oh my
right?
goodness.
Where
Yeah.
there's this opportunity. I remember
Yeah.
when one of the companies I was working at got bought, and I remember thinking like, we have something, they have all this other stuff. We could
Yeah.
make this thing really work if we can
Yeah.
pool our resources and the
Yeah.
collective like willpower and knowledge together.
Yeah.
We can make something that is definitely better than the sum of their parts,
Yeah.
right? And I was a little bit naive, I suppose, um, because I do think that what ended up happening in that case is that there's a company who says, "Hey, you know what? We actually know better,
Yeah.
right? We bought you,
Yeah. Yeah.
and we can do whatever we want. We're the kingpin here, right?"
Yeah.
And it wasn't from a place of like win-win, right? I mean, the
Yeah.
win-win, I suppose, was that some people got kept, but
Yeah. I mean, I've been through so many acquisitions at this point, I think 5. And you're totally right. You hit it on the head. Unfortunately, with most of the acquisitions I've been through, it's people are afraid because there's redundancy when acquisitions happen, right?
right.
And because there's redundancy, people are going to naturally go into this like fight or flight mentality of I need to defend my job or I'm going to get fired. Even the
Mhm.
people, even the teams that are part of the company that is doing the acquiring. And
Right.
so they have to justify their own existence. And so that's what ends up happening is instead of synergizing and working together and really creating the sum of the two parts being greater, they cutthroat and cut each other at the knees and go, I know better than you do.
And
Follow
and
me.
it is that, like, concept of abundance that was mentioned earlier, right? I
Mm.
think, in habit 4, right, that idea of thinking win-win, there is a possibility that the company could keep everybody, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
There is like, yeah, maybe people have to do slightly different things. Maybe they have to work in a different way,
Yeah.
but you might actually find that actually the explosive growth that they're gonna have by working together
Yeah.
requires all these people to
Yeah.
succeed, right? And actually they need
Yeah.
to hire a lot more.
Yeah.
Um,
Well,
but
that
in that
that
immediate time frame, it can feel really scary to some people, and you're right, it does end up leading people down dark paths.
Well, and I actually think that's a really it segues into the what he talks about on 325 that I think like is such a small blurb, but I think is so powerful. He basically talks he says in an interdependent situation, synergy is a particularly powerful in dealing with negative forces that work against growth and change. So
Mm,
basically, what he's saying is that synergy is the cure for negativity. And the idea is that when you start building that synergy between and he goes into details on an example, but the idea is that once a team starts this synergy steamroll, right? It's inertia. It's like this huge
mm,
train. And as it gets moving faster and faster, you have all of these external people who are being negative and are trying to stop this synergy from happening. But once that inertia starts, it's like it's hard to stop it. And so it pushes back against those negative people. And it's like really starts this like down this fantastic, creation of synergistic move towards the right direction.
mm,
Um, and so I think that's like that right there. I think that if you're in a situation in an acquisition or something like that, where it feels like it's getting cutthroat and like people are kind of doing some like negative stuff, the biggest thing you can do is take a step back and try to find some teams that you can start synergizing with.
Mm-hmm.
Don't fall into that, category of doing that. What you should be doing is seeking out those people you can synergize with, because you can create that synergy, and the more synergy you can create between the teams, the more protected you'll be against. It'll be like a force field against that negativity, and it'll be almost impossible to stop once you have, enough inertia moving you forward.
One of the things about synergy, though, is it does require other people,
Yeah.
right? You
Yeah.
can't achieve it by yourself.
Yeah.
You can't, synergy is not, I have the best idea and
Yeah.
now I need to get other people to agree with me. Synergy is, I have my ideas, other people have their ideas. If we
Yeah.
pool our resources, we can have something that's better.
Yeah.
I think one of the hardest parts about, again, going back to like mergers and acquisitions, is that a lot of times, like a company will get acquired and then they're in their own silo, right?
Yeah.
And they don't actually even have the opportunity to talk to that new company, right?
Yeah.
You wish that they could get in the same room and say, "Hey, all of us, like all of these engineers and all of your engineers, let's talk.
Yeah.
Let's pool our resources. Let's make this thing great." And sometimes it is because there is you know, some, pencil pusher who says, "Well, we need to cut 200 people
Yeah.
and let's not get them too familiar with each other because when we have to cut them, it's going to cause a sense of loss not only
Yeah.
over there but at our company." It's so
Yeah.
but man, I just sit there every time an acquisition happens and say, "This could be great. This could be amazing."
Yeah.
And I'm not trying to say that to like buy into some corporate thing. I just really think that like you get more people in the same room with different skill sets and you're going to leave with a better product. But
Yeah. 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 And, I do have to say, at least, right now, I am going through a similar situation right now where, um, an acquisition has happened, but so far it's been fantastic.
nice.
Um, and so I do have to say, like, it's not all doom and gloom. I want to say to our audience members out there, if you're going through an acquisition, don't think the worst is going to happen. But again, inhabit these habits, and habit 4 and 5 become really important. Seek first to understand when you once you enter into these conversations, and think win-win.
Mhm.
Because if you inhabit those habits, you can, by inhabiting those habits, like seek first to understand, don't forget you can give psychological air to these people. And once they have that psychological air, they'll be more willing and open to then listen to you. And then once you get to that point, then you can really spark synergy. So,
Mm.
that's what I will have to say.
I know you didn't read the Sean Covey thing, but
Mm,
336,
yeah.
he has this page called Getting to Synergy. And I'm just going to
Oh,
read
okay.
this because this is like the best part of this whole Sean Covey
Yeah.
section.
Yeah.
He says, "Synergy doesn't just happen. You have to get there. If you are not sure where to start, follow this simple 5-step process.
Simple.
1, it's simple. Uh, 1, define the problem or opportunity. 2, their way. Seek first to understand the ideas of others.
Okay.
3,
Yep.
my way. Seek to be understood by sharing your ideas. 4, brainstorm. Create new options and ideas. And 5, highway. Find the best solution."
Yeah.
I like the fact that he kind of simplifies this
Yeah.
because for all that Stephen Covey, the author of the original book,
Yeah.
talks about these like high ideas, I think he really did a lot to it kind of was a little bit mystic.
Yeah.
And Sean's like, Listen, this is the basic way to do it, right?"
Yeah. Well,
So just
he
to
did. Yeah.
repeat those real
He
quick.
stole my psychological error, because that's basically what I was saying. He said it way better.
So the 5 steps are: define the problem, their
Yeah.
way,
Yeah.
my way, brainstorm, and then the highway.
Yeah.
And the
Yeah.
highway not being the road, highway to hell or anything. It's
Yeah.
the best solution. So,
Yeah. Yeah. I
um,
mean, and that's the thing, is like, define the problem, which is start thinking about win-win. right? What is the problem? Then, their way, which is give them psychological air, make them feel like they have an abundance of oxygen, so they're no longer fighting for their way anymore. And so you're understanding them. Then that will lead you into, my way. I'll be able to then explain my own viewpoint now that they are open to it. And then you can start brainstorming, which is synergize, right? And highway to come up with a better solution. So no, I mean, it's a really good framework. I do like it. Yeah.
Cool. I'm excited for the next habit, the final habit, the best habit.
Yep. The one where I talk about this story all the time.
The one habit to rule them all.
Yeah.
So
habit 7 next week. Well, thank you for joining us, everyone, on our book club journey. I hope everyone's enjoying it so far. So next episode will be the last habit episode. We're finally there. Thank you for sticking with us. So this is so that episode will be the second to last episode. So we'll do the habit 7 next week. And then the last episode after that will be our final review. And we'll talk about our thoughts, feelings.
That's what I like to hear. Cool.
And that was our containerized conversation. I'm Jesse Caffarelli.
I'm Josh Warhurst. Have a great night.